Hello, fellow spellcasters. I'm back, and wowee, this took a long time for me to edit, especially since the original video for this was 20 minutes long. Ay, ay, ay. Anyway, I'm so glad to be back, and without further ado, let's get on to the video soon. The first thing that you do is to get your supplies ready. Make sure that you have your paper and a pencil. It's okay if you don't have a sketchbook, just any type of paper that you can draw on is fine with me. The first thing that we will be working on is head shapes. So right now for the first circle I will be working on a round head shape, and at the bottom of my circle I made sure to put a line because this is where you're gonna have the cheekbone and stuff with most head shapes. In my opinion, the round head shape is a great head shape for people to use when they are beginning art or if they are creating rounded characters, or in many cases cartoonists will use this head shape when you have, say, a friendly character who has more rounder features. And one thing that you want to keep in mind is that when you draw heads, you don't want to do a straight line that goes vertically, and you don't want to have super sharp lines for connecting two parts of the head, or if you're just going to draw the head in general, you still don't want to have those super sharp lines. Now, one thing I noticed was that I accidentally tilted the head a little bit to the right, so that's one thing you don't want to do. The next head shape that I will be working on is the oval head shape. Now, since I draw a more stylistic type of style, and I also am sort of like a cartoonist in which I like to describe different characters based on sharpness of their features, the oval is a good shape for me to use whenever I'm experimenting around with a character that I wouldn't consider good or I wouldn't consider bad. In other words, neutral characters. And for those of you that aren't cartoonists, I highly suggest that when you use the oval head shapes for maybe more mature characters, or maybe characters that, like I already said, are neutral, or just whatever your personal tastes are centered around. Last head shape that I think is one that a bunch of people definitely should know about is the heart shape, which most of the time this head shape is defined by a widow's peak hairline as well as a sharp jawline. Now, because of the sharp jawline, I find that the heart shape in modern cartoons or different art styles is something that grabs a lot of people's attention. And this kind of ties into my personal preference with whenever I use these head shapes. I use these head shapes for more mature characters, people who might have a lot of importance to a story but also have a certain level of maturity. Now, we are going to start with the good stuff now. I will be sketching out a head as well as the rough outlines. Now, one thing that I want you to notice was that I remember discussing vertical lines and kind of avoiding that whenever you do heads and stuff. Now, I'd say that there is a couple exceptions to this rule, like whenever you're sketching out a head, definitely including those vertical lines might help you sketch out your head, actually. When I was younger and I used to draw different anime styles, I remember drawing really sharp vertical lines downwards. It really helped me with modeling the head, but I would not suggest doing that with a head overall. So one thing I'm about to show you is where I put the eyes. Now, right now, I'm freehanding some straight lines, which I kind of failed at. Oops. So I'm going to be freehanding some lines, and in the middle of the head is where you are going to put your eyes. Now, one thing I highly suggest is that if you're working with regular human proportions, you have at least the eyes be one eye apart. If you aren't working with regular human proportions, then have the eye distance be at least one small circle apart so that way the eyes aren't too close together. I'm going to call this the circle rule mainly because with most different eye shapes, you'll have at least a circle distance between each eye. Fortunately, I began to struggle with this, so I will just put a sound effect here instead of all of that messing up. Okay, enough of that. I finally got the eyes down. So I drew a little eye in between so that way I can show you the eye difference, minus the tear ducts that you would normally see, but because you don't usually see them in my art style, I didn't draw them. The next part that I will be working on is the nose and its anatomy. Now, another thing that my art teacher told me is that when you draw noses, they're usually an eye and a half down. Afterwards, when you get to the base, you want to make sure to draw the base of the nose, obviously, because it's for a good measure when you're drawing a human character. Absolutely no pun intended. Now, I'm drawing my head in front view, so when your character is looking to the front, I suggest if you want to go for an extra detail, you should probably make sure to also include some more details of the front of the nose. Like the little. You know, when you look at people, how you see a little skinny-ish part that they always make it bolder using contour? Yeah, that part. I don't know exactly how to describe it, so there you go. Now, the last part that we're going to be working on is the mouth. And when I look at people, I notice that there is what I call the little candy cane hook thing. It's kind of shaped like that, in which you'll see it below the nose, just maybe above the mouth. My personal style is that I like to use this little circle above the top of the lip, so that way I make sure that the lip isn't too close. And from there, I'd say that's all you need to know. The last part of the face that I'm going to be talking about is eyebrows. And I'm going to be giving another lesson on where eyebrows are placed using eye distance. Now, since the human eye reminds me a lot of, well, two half ovals put together, I use this to determine where I want to place my eyebrows. So you just use the size of one really small half oval to place your eyebrows like I did here. Anyway, that's all for now, everybody, and this is Witchy Who signing off.